I just hit the button.
You did?
I did. So you can turn that down.
But he's still on.
That's okay.
Really?
You could turn that down. He was just, hello, everybody.
I'm so confused
Oh my
with all this.
gosh. Yeah.
You're telling me to turn it down.
I've got like 67 screens going on here. This is the first ever handoff thing sort of stuff that's going on right now. And
so confused. How's this work?
it's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to be fine. It is the middle of the Thursday evening awesomeness happening right now. So they're waving. Are they waving goodbye?
I think so.
All right,
so then what happens when he does his thing?
We're figuring it out, you know? So they're waving goodbye. So we're going to hold on and kind of hang out here for a second and welcome people as they come in. And here we go. We've got a whole bunch of people starting to roll in here. So this is the Thursday night craziness. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us this fine evening. So I hope you enjoyed. If you're coming from the KG Tropicals live stream, I hope you enjoyed it. It was really cool. Got to see some of their new things that they were doing in terms of just having cameras everywhere. And they have little segments now. It's kind of like a news show. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have to rewatch it. I missed the front half. I'm doing laundry like a maniac woman.
I caught the front and most of some of the middle and all the back part of it, but we're so glad you're here. Thanks for being here. It's a new night for us, so yeah, I can't say weird. Happy, it's Wednesday at 8 p.m. anymore. It is now Thursday, 8 p.m.
Well, we say Happy Friday Eve.
Okay,
that's what we say in the work world.
Now.
Yeah.
So yeah, here we are. Here we have lots of things to talk about tonight. So we have a subject which I thought you would be excited about, and that is we're going to go over some tips how to make your tank look awesome.
Play now.
All right, simple tips, things that you can do. And this kind of, the idea was basically when we were at Aquashella. So we were at Aquashella this past weekend, and there was a lot of really cool things that we saw. And so now we want to share some of those things with you because I think it's going to be awesome. As always, again, everybody who's pouring in from the KG Tropicals live stream, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
We are excited to have our new night, new time, and be partnered up with KG Tropicals on this night because I just think it's cool. So, as always, videos, things that have been happening the last week or so. On Sunday, many of you asked when I did the video a while back, I talked about fish that I think would be a good idea to breed in 2025. And then I said, hey, I just kind of mentioned it in that video. I could also do a video where I think there might be some fish you might want to stay away from in 2025, at least in terms of breeding and trying to make money. And that video came out on Sunday. And then on Monday on the Tank Talk podcast, we did a podcast on emergencies, fish tank emergencies, not like, natural disaster stuff, because we had just done that one a couple weeks prior, but we talked about just your everyday types of emergencies that can kind of pop up. So if you haven't seen that on the Tank Talk podcast, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, and all over the place. So definitely worth checking out. And then let's see here. Yesterday, Wednesday, on the small scape, what did you did Aquashella Daytona, right?
I did. Yeah, I saw some crazy cool stuff. One thing almost made me cry.
Wow. Okay, so there's that. But if you want to see what Aquashella Daytona Beach last weekend was all about, you can check out that video, which, by the way, thank you to everybody who came out, who said hello, who stopped by. It's always very exciting for us. It's the reason why we go, is to hang out with all of you. And if you were there, you saw something that I actually never thought would happen. Do you know what that is?
That you never thought would happen?
Yeah. I had a little intro to freshwater fish keeping thing that I did, and Joanna actually came up on stage with me. Now, even though she does a lot of videos and stuff, she is not overly excited about being on stage.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
I
just said, hey, why don't you come up on stage and help me out a little bit? She's like, oh, okay.
I think maybe
Did you actually think that through before you said yes?
No, because after you started, I think it hit me like, wait, why did I agree to do this? I'm on a stage. Yeah. I mean, remember last year at the Aquashella, I had to go up for some reason. I don't know. And then Sean was saying something to me, and I was just saying like, no, whatever. I just wanted to get the heck off the stage.
Yeah.
I
So that was pretty funny that you were up there the whole time. So
I
that
don't
was
know.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody, like I said, for being there. That was very cool. Of course, today we had the Prime Timers video out, talked about the 75-gallon to the by Joanna's head over there. That is getting pretty close. I've got the fish in the fish room, at least most of them that I want to put in that tank. They are here. I have the substrate. I have the rocks. So now it's just a matter of finding the time to, and really the tank space to get all of those fish out of that tank and at least put them in a temporary tank until I can move them to where they need to be.
well,
So,
the wonderful world of aquascaping.
the wonderful world, yeah, but I can't wait to do that because I want that tank to look very different than it does right now. So places we're going to be on this Saturday, we have the Greenwater Aquarium Society swap in Tinley Park, Illinois. So website has been updated. If you are looking for fish, want to see what we are bringing, if you want pre-orders, primetimeaquatics.com. And then on Sunday, the 17th of this month, we have Quad City in Davenport, Iowa. That website, we'll update the website about 4 days or so before that one comes up. So
Before we, yes, Zen. That's right. Zen's your birthday. Zen, your birthday was yesterday as well.
oh, wow,
along
happy
with
birthday.
this guy here, my young friend.
Oh, thank you
He's
very much.
younger than me,
Yeah,
so I
thank
can
you.
always.
And thank you to everybody on Facebook and everywhere else that sent all the happy birthday wishes. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, I am now 37.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
random
what
number.
happens.
Yeah, that was a random number. But
And
anyway,
happy birthday, Zen.
yeah, happy birthday. So we have a subject that we want to talk about tonight, and I figured let's just jump right into it because we got a lot of people here that probably want to hear a little bit about tips for
Probably.
making your aquarium look a little better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's some easy things to do, and then we're not going to go as far into the aquascaping realm as maybe we could, but we are going to offer some tips there as well. My number one thing, and you can pipe in a little bit later here, okay?
Oh, so I need to wait? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, you can, just wait like a minute or two.
Okay.
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 So my number one thing, or not, it's not number one in terms of order, but one of the things that you can do to make a tank look awesome that I think sometimes is overlooked by some, and that is have awesome mechanical filtration, right? So make sure that your filter is capable of keeping your water crystal clear. And so a lot of people, we talk about this all the time. We have sponge filters pretty much in all of our aquariums in the fish room side, none over here. And the reason why we have none over here is, one, the sponge filters can sometimes detract from the look of the aquarium. I don't mind them. I've gotten used to them on the fish room side. I don't really even notice them anymore. But the more important thing is we need to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But the more importanter thing than that even was we wanted to have really good water clarity. In other words, we didn't want a bunch of stuff floating around, and that can happen when you've got cory cats or loaches or cichlids or anything geophagus or something that's going to be messing with the substrate. They're going to be, kind of turning stuff up. Sponge filters are great, especially if you are getting a lot of aquariums, but they do not the best job of mechanical filtration, pulling stuff out of the water column, where the canister filters that we have on these 5 aquariums behind us, much better job. So that is one of the reasons why we chose them, because they move a lot of water and they get a lot of stuff out of that water to make the tanks appear clearer. And that's a big thing. So if you're looking at your aquarium and you're like, I'm just, for whatever reason, you are not happy with the way it looks, look at your water. Is the water itself where you want it to be? If you're using sponge filters right now, is it doing the mechanical filtration that you want it to? Now, they can, right? So you saw our fish room, both when this was a fish room on this side and the other side for many, many years. And for the most part, those tanks look pretty darn clear. And the reason for that is we maintain those sponge filters every single week to maximize their mechanical filtration, which brings up the next part of that, and that is make sure whatever filtration you're using, the media is properly maintained. So if you're using sponge, is it all clogged up? Because once that sponge gets clogged, it can't capture anything else. That's usually when I know, at least for our canister filters, if I start to see a little bit of stuff in the water column that's not being removed, it's like, okay, clearly whatever media is in there has been saturated with gunk, and I need to clean that out so that it does a better job. It's the same thing with your sponge filters. So yes, making sure that you have a filter capable of good mechanical filtration, but then also making sure, especially when you're using hang-on-back filters, canister filters, sumps, that you have the filter media capable of pulling stuff out of the water column and it's not getting all clogged up. So you're going to get that clearer water. And you know what else is a big advantage?
What?
What do you sometimes see? This might be tough because I'm not going to ask this in a clear and concise way. If you have an aquarium with a sponge filter on one side and it's just going, on the other side where the sponge filter is not, what do you sometimes see?
Bunch of stuff.
A bunch of stuff, yes. So stuff meaning detritus, right? Yeah, so you can wind up with dead spots if you don't have really good mechanical filtration. And not only that, but what about like algae? Right, so green hair algae.
My
A lot
best
of the
friend.
hair algae thrive in water that is relatively stagnant. Or if you've got better water movement, and that's not appropriate for all fish, right? But if you do have better water movement, better mechanical filtration, the hair algae are less likely to appear. And as Joanna said, the stuff is less likely to build up.
Technical term.
Yeah. So detritus, fish waste, that kind of thing, where you get these dead spots in the aquarium, and every time the fish swims by, it's like poof, a big old mess of stuff, which we don't want. Okay. So those are kind of like one or two things I would say. What else do we got if you want to make your tank look better?
Well, I would say maybe you had some friends in there somewhere, like some little
Friends.
critters.
Critters. So, and what would be the purpose of these critters? Because the whole point of a fish tank is that you've got fish in there.
Oh,
So
there's special cleanup critters. You know, maybe like snails or shrimp.
okay.
A mono shrimp.
Yeah. So that, again, if you are looking at your aquarium and you're like, you know what, I've got an algae issue. We talk about this all the time. People ask, okay, what do we do about algae? Well, algae is basically, you've got a few things. One, you got to control your light duration, light intensity, and the amount of nutrients in the aquarium. But if you are doing a relatively good job of that, and it's just like, man, every once in a while, I still get a little bit of algae. Yeah, as Joanna said, add something that can maybe use that algae as a food source. So snails. You have a favorite?
Mystery snail.
Do you? So
The magenta mystery snail is my
Yeah.
favorite.
I would say those are pretty
Because
darn
they go
cool.
really nice with green.
They go what?
They go really nice with like a blue-green color.
Okay. So yes, snails, whether that's mystery snails or nearite snails, are probably the two most popular, but those are good if you've got a community tank that's on the smaller side. So snails can go in anything. I mean, a nearite snail could go in a 1 gallon. Mystery snails are perfectly fine in at least a 2.5. So if you've got smaller tanks and or you have aquariums where you don't have a lot of aggressive fish, they're not going to eat the snails, no cichlids, snails can be a great option. You can throw in, you know, I had a 20 gallon with an algae issue. I wouldn't hesitate to throw in a half a dozen mystery snails or nearite snails and just let them constantly munch on algae. The Amano shrimp are great because the Amano shrimp can eat a lot of the green hair algae. We did an entire video on algae eating organisms and what's best for each size tank. If you haven't seen it, type in Primetime Aquatics algae eating algae guide, and that's in there for you. So the Amano shrimp are awesome because you're going to get that green hair algae removed. The snails will take care of a lot of that surface algae, the brown diatom algae, some of that softer green algae that's not hair algae. But yeah, again, shrimp, smaller tanks, community tanks work out really well. I think if you're getting larger fish, larger aquariums, sometimes you can move on to the algae eating types of fish, right? So otos. We don't talk enough about the otocinclus.
No,
But
I
because
suppose we
they're
don't.
smaller algae eaters, but they like to be kept in big groups. And actually, even though they're small fish, because they like to be kept in such large groups, sometimes it's best to keep them in even like 29 gallons or above. You'd think, okay, well, 5 gallon is fine. Size-wise, I could see where you would say that, but if they're not in pretty large groups, they just tend to be really, really shy. So the otocinclus are pretty good. Bristlenose plecos, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you know what? Bristlenose plecos are great when they're young, and then as they get older, they don't eat algae. I have not found that to be true when there is sufficient food competition, and it's a delicate balance because you don't want to starve your algae-eating fish or your scavenging fish thinking, oh, they're just going to eat algae and that's just what they eat, and then not feed them directly, because sometimes people starve their fish by doing that. But I found bristlenose plecos to be really, really great, especially in some cichlid tanks, because the cichlids eat a lot of food so quickly that the bristlenose will still get their food, and sometimes I'll actually feed them at night after the lights go out, but they're still hungry enough where they're still looking for algae when they're hungry. So those can be pretty good. One of the fish that what have I dispersed throughout the entire gallery? Do you know? They are now.
I remember you told me.
You don't remember?
No, I'm drawing a blank.
If you were to turn around, you'd probably see them. The Siamese algae eater. Not the Chinese algae eater. The Chinese algae eater, actually, by the way, that still does work, even as they get larger. But again, it's all about the food competition. But those guys can be real jerks. The Siamese algae eater, not nearly as much. And they are awesome at eating hair algae, green hair algae, and the dreaded blackbeard algae. That's why they're in these aquariums, because the low boy right behind us, that had a problem with blackbeard algae, and it is
immediately
almost gone.
It did. Yeah.
The 125 behind Joanna's head had a problem with blackbeard algae. It's almost gone. Now the Lake Tanganyikan fish tank, that still has an issue, but I put 2 Siamese algae eaters in there, and I don't think the Lake Tanganyikan fish enjoyed that very much, that combination. So, and I haven't seen them in about a month, which is why that algae is still there. So if you don't have super aggressive fish, the Siamese algae eater can be a really nice one for the hair algae, both blackbeard and green algae. The other one that doesn't get talked about enough, the Florida flagfish. That is a really pretty fish. Problem is they can be a little bit finippy, a little bit aggressive. They look kind of like a molly. Really pretty, but really good at green hair algae. So yeah, algae. Add some friends, add some algae eating fish. Make sure you feed some of those fish if they're not getting enough food. The next thing, this is huge when it comes to looking at your aquarium and whether or not you're going to enjoy it. In fact, if I was going to rank all of these things, this might be pretty close to the top.
Okay.
Lights.
Camera. Action.
Lights.
Lights. Oh, yes.
It is the reason why when we did the gallery, we put all aqua illumination lights behind us. Both the, I did a video on the AI blade. They're not cheap lights. All right. So if you ever watch that video, I just don't want to give you sticker shock. But these AI primes that are up here above the low boy, those things, that is my favorite all-time light for aquariums. Like, bar none, it's my favorite light ever because of the adjustability, and that is the key there with the lighting. If you look at your tank and your fish just, you're not enjoying the color, you're not enjoying the color spectrum, your tank. So for me, I'm not a big fan of aquarium lights that have kind of the warmer yellowish like tone to them. That's not something I like to look at. I like to have a little bit more of a blue spectrum.
Looks brighter.
Yeah, it looks a little bit brighter, looks a little bit cleaner, and it tends to show off fish color much, much better. And so they don't necessarily have to be expensive lights. Okay, so I'm not saying you got to go out and buy a $600 or $700 LED strip light or spend $500 on AI primes. I'm not saying that. But if you have a light, in fact, for the lower budget lights, I really like the Higer. The Higer lights are pretty nice, not super expensive, and I love the color spectrum. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for sure, I'm not trying to spread a rumor, but the Higer lights and what was the other one? The Night Crew. They're almost the same light. I wouldn't be surprised if they're made at the same factory, but both of those have a really nice color spectrum too, and they show off the fish colors so much nicer, much more relaxing to look at. So not only that, but those lights will sometimes help your plants grow a little bit nicer, especially if you can adjust the color spectrum, adjust the intensity, because there's nothing worse than turning on a fish tank light that's got the wrong color spectrum for you and it's way too bright, or it's not bright enough, and it's just like, wow, it kind of ruins everything. The part where you need to come in, and this is the last one that mostly the last one, and that is the aquascaping part, right? There are certain things that you can do to your aquarium that is probably, even if you don't necessarily realize why, it's going to make it look better, right? So I was listening to one of the aquascapers at Aquashella, and this is actually this is how I came up with this whole idea, because it was really centered around the aquascaping tricks that they were using. But I was listening to some of the tips that they were talking about with people who are just walking by. So if you are going to decorate your aquarium, what kind of decoration advice would you give? Yeah, decoration advice.
I know he just loves to use that word.
Yeah.
Well, at some point you'll probably want to try like real stuff, real driftwood, rocks, and once you do, you're gonna get hooked. Especially rocks. There are so many beautiful rocks: elephant skin stone, Siriu, dragonstone. And if you are already a rock collector and you have rocks around your house, like I do, on shelves, desks,
Yep.
dressers, then you're natural.
And the one that we saw that was newer was Firestone. Was it called Fire
You
Rock
like
or
the Firestone.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there's adding natural stuff. Let me show you what we mean. I'll show you kind of some cool tanks that we saw. This was, I'm going to pause that part of it. This was actually one of my top 3 favorites at Aquashella this
That was
year.
a beauty, yeah.
It was a more simple scape. This was done by Hip Hong.
Mm-hmm.
This is that Firestone that I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the addition of having natural, right? Natural, you've got real wood, you've got rocks. It just adds something different. Now, if you are somebody who's got colored gravel, plastic castles, plastic plants, and you like the way it looks,
Rock
don't
on.
change anything. I've said this from day one. If someone is using artificial plants and plastic decorations and gravel, and you're happy with it and your fish are doing fine, you are every bit the fish keeper as someone who can do this. Now, this might be more appealing for some people, but if what your setup looks like is appealing to you, do not change a thing, okay? So, but at some point, if you are unhappy or want to change in your aquarium, this is worth a try. It's something different. You've got lots of different types of rocks, lots of different types of wood, and I think this is something that can add a lot to an aquarium. Now, the other thing that you could do, and that's also shown here in this picture, let me show you another one that I thought was really cool. This, again, is an example of it was my top 3 at Aquashella this year.
It's another beautiful
this
one,
was Austin, oh my gosh, Austin, right? Holy cow. Somebody, if you were at Aquashella, he won top 5, and this might have been my favorite scape. And so what you're seeing here is not only do we have rock, we have wood, of course, like the other one here again, live plants. And so if you're somebody who has not tried live plants before, I'm telling you, I know you're not going to believe this, but if you haven't tried live plants, and please, if you are here and you like typing stuff in the chat, you can either tell people I am crazy or confirm what I'm about to say. The first time you ever put plants in your aquarium, weren't you excited about the fact that you now had other living things growing? And you would look at your aquarium every day and be like, did the plants get any larger? Are they living? Are they happy? Are they happy? Almost just like your fish, right? It's crazy. So trust me, at some point, if you haven't tried it before, start out easy. We've done videos on easy plants, and it's going to add so much to your aquarium. So rocks, wood, plants. The other thing that I think is interesting, and it is something that not a lot of people appreciate. I put out a YouTube short yesterday, I don't know, in the last couple days. And the reason I did that is, and this is going to come through weird because it's the actual video part.
It was by Austin.
Yeah. What's his last name?
Quan.
Austin Quan. Thank you so much. Yeah, I absolutely love so many of his escapes. This thing was very simple, uncluttered, and absolutely awesome. When he was putting this together, I'm not going to lie, the first probably hour or two, because they they have this vision in their head. I'm looking at this tank. I'm like, what is he doing? This isn't gonna. What even is this? Is
Oh,
he
you
just
saw him
mailing
when he
it?
was like.
I
rating
saw
it?
it when it was basically just sand, a few rocks, and he had those 2 chunks in there. I'm like, and he left it and he started adding wood. I'm like, this is not. What is he doing? Is he just like not trying this time? And then,
Oh, ye of
I know.
little faith.
I am a rookie. I have no ability to visualize anything. And then I saw the finished
really doesn't.
product, this, and I was like, I love that scape. But this is the thing I was talking about. So check this out. A lot of people commented. Again, I'm sorry for the formatting. This was a YouTube short I did. I didn't have like a larger landscape video. But elevating the back part of the tank, this is something that you do. You don't do it as extreme.
No,
right?
no, because that is, you definitely need to take into, you have to know what you're doing. So it stays. So
Right.
it doesn't all just,
In your opinion, a tank like this, will it stay like that long term? Provided that you don't have any fish that are going to be digging through it.
would it stay like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple things. And when I showed this on YouTube as a YouTube short,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people commented legitimately, hey, that's a lot of weight. And they worried about the seams.
Okay.
I personally, at least for that, and I'll show you some other examples too, because I show a lot of the backs of the tanks across the aisle. I'm not as concerned about that as a lot of people. And I don't think the sand and the gravel add that much weight. And understand, and you're looking at the backs of these aquariums, hopefully you can kind of sort of see how much sand and how much gravel is there. But you could fill up that entire tank with gravel and sand and nothing would happen. I mean, again, you're seeing here that this is built up. Yeah, it's adding some weight, but it's displacing water. So it's not like it's a one-to-one.
Plus, when they are building it up that extreme, they're typically using the aqua soil, which is like really your
Very light.
lightest.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
Yep. And not only that, but you had pondered for a while with one of your aquascapes. There are things that you can do to significantly lighten this up and still get that look. So what could you do with this to still get the look, but not have to worry about the weight as much?
You could use fake rocks. You could use styrofoam.
Okay. And that doesn't even have to be fake looking. That can just literally be styrofoam that is silicone to the glass, the bottom or the back, and then you can build up the sand and the rocks around it, and you would never actually see the styrofoam, but you would take up a lot of space, a lot of elevation, and not have to worry about the weight.
Plus, there's also spray foam. I know there are a number of people who use spray foam.
Yep. And this tank, by the way, I don't show enough in this video.
My gosh,
that was
told
Shelby's
her.
from Garden of Eden.
I
That was
loved it.
again, that was one of my top threes. I think the 3 that I just showed you that I paused on were probably there were, oh my gosh, there were so many good ones. I will say at Aquashella there were 12 tanks, and all 12 of them, all of them were phenomenal. And I didn't even show you numbers 1, 4, and possibly number 2. So I don't even have that in this short. I will at some point in the future, but 1, 4, and 2 out of the top 5 are not even shown here. Those are just some of my personals that resonated with me at the time, right? So moral of the story is, again, if you're looking to spice things up, you want to change things up, take a look at what some of these aquascapers do and how they build in 3 dimensions, right? One of the aquascapers, Gunner, great guy. We were talking to him. He had a really nice aquascape. In fact, it was like 1 over. I'll show you that in a future YouTube short.
Or you can watch my video.
Or you can, you got it on video.
I
Even
do,
better.
because
Watch
he
the small
walked
scape
us
video.
through some stuff.
One of the things that he mentioned was you can have almost like a recess or relief in the back of your main scape so that you have elevation, but then in the back there's maybe a dip, right? And then things that almost looks like a mountainscape. So really, really cool stuff. The one thing I will say, and this is evident here in this picture that I'm showing you, and in some of the other aquariums as well, and I think it would be, let me see if I got this one. All right, so this is just a picture. It's the back of the aquarium. It's not the front. So it's not like, oh my gosh, this is the cloudiest tank ever, and why did they stack it up in the front? So this is the back. But you can see elevation. It's not all the way across. And so that would, you've got a structure coming out of a corner. But then what I wanted to show you here was obviously the backdrop, the background. I absolutely love that. So if you look at all of our tanks in the back, when I go back to the full screen here, All of my tanks in both the fish room and the gallery, they all have some type of a backdrop or background. And I don't care what it is. It can be the stuff that you buy at Petco or PetSmart that you tape to the back. You can paint them like I do. You can use some type of a paper like you often do so you can change it out a little bit easier.
Vinyl. This is probably a window film.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it transforms the look of your aquarium when you do that. If you've never done it before, it really is, it makes the whole tank look different. Not only that, you don't see all the cords, you don't see the wall behind it. Now, if your wall looks awesome, hey, so what? Then let it be. So those were just some things, right? I didn't want to spend forever on it because I do want to get to your questions and all that stuff tonight as well. And we do have a giveaway. I forgot to mention at the beginning, but we do have a giveaway because I promised that we would, being that this is our first ever evening, Thursday evening. And so I felt like we had to celebrate that in some way. But anyway, those were some tips. Do you have any others that you wanted to add? Because I didn't really even ask you.
No, like your like the super chat. Thank you, Leslie. Did you want to read the super chat? Because I'll address it.
So thank you very much. I have silver dollars in one of my tanks. Live plants are not possible. Thank you for acknowledging that artificial plants are acceptable. I hate being plant shamed. No, we don't do that. Never have, never will. In fact, we've done videos where we've compared live versus plastic plants, artificial plants, and exactly for the reason you're talking about. Silver dollars eat. I got a group of them in a 125. They eat every single green thing I've ever put in that tank, and that can be algae, like hair algae. That can be duckweed. It can be any kind of plant. They will eat it all.
Severums too.
Severums, yep. I mean, there are so many fish that just devour plants to the point where it's like it's not even worth wasting money on because it just becomes fish food.
And what did we do at Aquashella? Do you remember what we did?
Yeah, and I don't know, did you get that on video? Because I actually didn't get any of it on video.
Yes, and you would have known that if you watched my video. I'm going to video shame him now.
Apparently, I'm in trouble, everybody. I didn't watch it yet.
What, have you been busy working or something?
I was, you know what? No, I was busy picking up her motorcycle from the motorcycle performance shop because somebody got a brand new SNS 475 cam put in her bike, and it is now the loudest flipping Harley Davidson I've ever heard. They actually had to take, they told me when they were dynoing her bike, everybody left the room because it was so loud. Yeah, he's like, we left and just left the guy in there doing the dyno in there by himself wearing like triple earplugs. Anyway, that's why I didn't get to watch your video because I was busy going out to wherever to get your bike and bring it back. So anyway, absolutely. Artificial plants. Oh, finish the thought. Yeah, that's what we did, right? Our scape off, the creator scape, was using artificial plants. And if you haven't looked at them lately, and if you watched Joanna's video from yesterday, they're different now than they used to be.
They're really cool.
Really
oh my
nice.
Gosh.
They really do.
And you can put succulents in your aquarium if you want. Because they have succulent plants.
Calling me out?
No, I'm just saying.
That's what I do.
They had some really beautiful ones that I was actually kind of tempted. But they also encourage you when you do have, if you're open to using artificial plants, use them like you do real plants, and you can cut them, you can glue them, you can wedge them, you can just do all sorts of things instead of just taking a big clump, how they come, and just stick them. Scape like you would real ones.
I know. And it was
super fun.
And I pulled them all apart, and I kind of, if I would have had glue, I would have glued them to my wood feature.
Right.
But I just kind of rested them there, and it worked out okay.
I've actually had really good luck with the fake plants. I haven't lost one yet.
I will say that there are some downsides to the fake plants, though, if you use them, and that is, and I don't know if it's like this anymore, but for those of you who use like the silk fake plants, I remember at one point we had them in a 75-gallon, and I don't even think they lasted 3 months before they started like ripping and tearing and fraying and falling apart. It was very strange. So I'm not sure that that's still a thing, but be a little careful with that. The softer ones that just kind of flow. It's cool, but the problem is, at least for us, they didn't last very long. And this was years ago, but that was a downside. Wet Sleeves do want to say thank you so much for gifting 5 new prime timers. Really, really appreciate it. That's awfully giving. Really appreciate you doing that.
Lisa's here. Lisa, you have Florida flagfish?
Oh, you do? That's
I didn't know that.
Very cool. Yeah, Florida flagfish are
That's cool.
gorgeous. They really are. Go ahead and talk to people about some stuff and things. Let me see while
Okay.
you're doing that if I can bring up a picture, just in case people have never seen them before.
Oh, this is a good question. This is from Tree. Do live plants make it easier to keep water parameters healthy and bacteria healthy?
Do water parameters, say that again? I'm sorry, I wasn't really paying attention.
Sure. Do live plants make it easier to keep water parameters healthy and bacteria healthy?
It absolutely makes it easier to keep your water, yeah, for sure. Your water healthier in the fact that you don't have nitrate or nitrite or anything like that. Or you might have some nitrate, but not to the extent that you might otherwise, right? Ammonia can go down quite a bit. So let me see if I'm doing this on the fly. I'm sorry, everybody, but this is a Florida flagfish that I just pulled off the internet there. And it's a pretty fish. Again, they can be somewhat assertive, fin-nippy, not crazy. So, I mean, if you had like swordtails and, you had grammies and barbs and stuff like that, perfect fit. Perfect. Rainbow fish, full size. This is a cool fish. But, again, you just have to be a little bit careful. 20 gallon or greater usually works just fine. Really awesome. When I was at a fish farm in Florida when I was with Grant and Shelby, back when I spoke at their club a couple years ago. And the dude had a pond out in back of his cichlid breeding area, and he chucked a bunch of food in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not kidding you, there must have been thousands of Florida flagfish that came up and started eating food.
Wow.
And I was like, he's a cichlid guy. I'm like, dude, you understand that these things you can sell these too. He's like, I don't know, there's just a whole bunch of them here. I'm like, yeah, you should start putting those on your website because in some parts they're really hard to come by.
Yeah.
Yeah. M&C, thank you so much for being a prime timer the last 18 months, 16 months. I had to squint. Excuse me. It says, Jason, have you ever kept spanner barbs? Just picked up a group of 8. Haven't seen them in years. Is that right? All right. Well, now you're going to have to make me look that up too.
I can't
and
picture
see
them.
if that is just a common name I haven't heard of before, or if it's just something that these, I have not had them. They have shown up on the lists every once in a while. Let me see here. I thought, don't they get pretty big? 7 inches. Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons why. But yeah, those are pretty darn cool looking for sure. No, I haven't kept them. I'm imagining they are very barb-like. And so right now in the fish room, we have clown barbs, which are super cool. They get fairly large too, like 5 or 6 inches, but they imagine a melon barb, but just larger. Really pretty fish. We have Odessa barbs that we got through quarantine. So far, this swap coming up on Saturday, and then the one for Quad City and the one for GCCA after that. Clown barbs and the Odessa barbs we brought in. Barbs to me are like, they're just underrated fish. And I know some of them, I think it's really the tiger barb's fault that they don't get as much love. And I mean, some of the other ones too, where they can be a little bit more assertive, a little bit fin-nippy, a little bit hard on one another. And it's just, yeah, I understand that part, but there are so many cool barbs. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, because I shocked some people with this information at Aquashella, maybe you remember, or maybe you know. What do barbs do that most people don't fully appreciate? They eat something. Your face. No, they...
Algae. Don't they eat algae? Or duckweed?
Duckweed. Yes, they eat duckweed.
Same thing.
And I mean,
algae,
they
duckweed.
devour duckweed every time. So all right, so snakeskin barbs, melon barbs, Odessa barbs, clown barbs. I am forgetting at least a few that we've had in the past. Not so much the cherry barbs.
8-banded barb. Did you say
They didn't eat it either. No. But all those other barbs, I mean, they will wipe out. For those of you who know my tanks, I have duckweed in every tank unless there are fish in there that eat it. And there are 2 types of fish that most people do not appreciate as duckweed eaters, and that is the barbs, the full-size rainbow fish, And like the bitterlings, like the volcano bitterlings,
Yeah.
the whitefin bitterlings, love duckweed. They will absolutely get rid of it for you.
They're always
And
in line for
like
food.
Leslie, like her silver dollars eat duckweed. Oh, tiger barbs definitely eat duckweed. Never had a duckweed problem in a tiger barb tank. Finsanity, thank you so much for being a prime timer the last 21 months.
Hi.
It was great meeting Mr. and Mrs.
Yes.
Prime Time at Aquashell. It was great meeting you,
You
too. It was
too.
awesome. Again, that is our favorite thing. What I've said it a million times. If there's something that would like make us really sad, it's when we periodically hear, we were at Aquashella, we saw you talking to somebody and we didn't want to bother you. And half the time
The
we're talking to
worst.
like another creator or like some vendor. We're here for you, right? So please, if we're at a thing, stop by and say hello. That'd be awesome. This is a great question. We're going to answer this question, and then I think we're going to go to the giveaway. How about that?
Cool.
Okay. So Shelly says, Jason, what do you do to try to keep the humidity in your fish room? I'm assuming to keep it down. Well, we have 2 dehumidifiers because they do 2 things. We have a dehumidifier on the gallery side. It's currently off right now because it makes too much noise and it would mess up the audio in the live stream. But we have a dehumidifier on this side and then a dehumidifier on the other side. It's absolutely driving me crazy right now because both of them have a hose that goes directly into our wastewater systems. And the one over there, I can see it in a reflection. It's got that little red flashing light. And I noticed that at the beginning of the stream. So that means the backup little bucket thing is full. It's clogged, like the hose must be clogged. It's driving me nuts. But we have 2 dehumidifiers. And most of our tanks, now the 2 125s and this low boy behind us, they are not covered. The 75s are, and almost every tank on the other side is covered. So between that, having the 2 dehumidifiers, our humidity in the summertime, like when it's most humid, spring, summer, and early fall, still doesn't go above 55%. So it's usually between 50 and 55%. In the winter, the dehumidifiers almost never run because we have the heat coming down here. And of course, it gets a lot drier in the winter with the heater on. And at that point, it can fall into the 30s. So that is how we control it. It's worked out great pretty much the entire time we've had a fish room. But tanks being covered is, I would say, even more important than having the dehumidifiers at times. All right, hold on. My thing just froze here. We'll answer this, and then we're going to talk about the giveaway tonight, Matthew. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Good evening, guys. Just set up my first dirted planted tank. I've been thinking about the whole leaves thing, but I don't know if my OCD can handle it. Any other way to get the leaves benefit?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can use like tea bags. They have tannin tea bags.
Tannin tea bags. Yeah, not just any tea bags.
No,
Like,
no,
don't-
tannin tea
Fish
bags.
are all like, caffeine, man. I haven't slept in months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Fritz Aquatics makes the, like, do we have it? Did you take them? Where are the giveaways that we haven't mailed out yet? Sorry about that. Do we have the actual, you put the packages upstairs, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah, because I only see.
I didn't move
Oh,
them.
no, those aren't, no, they're not down here. I'm sorry. So anyway, yeah, Fritz has basically the tannin tea bags with they're basically like crushed catappa leaves or something like that, and you can just float that in a hang-on back filter, and then that will turn your water a little bit darker, and you can get the tannins that way. It depends on what you're not liking about the leaves. So if you just don't like the way they look, then obviously you can shove them behind some of the rocks, some of the other aquascape stuff, plants and things, and wood, right?
You might like some other sorts of botanicals, like the cones, the alder
Yes,
cones, or
yes.
the
Cholla wood.
the casuarina cones are very. Some of these botanicals are very like kind of architectural,
Yeah.
and just really quite beautiful. The palm.
I don't know.
The flip had them. They're big. They're like
Oh, yeah, like the
palm
half-
cones.
Yeah,
Palm.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Some of these
Yeah.
are really, really quite beautiful and a little bit less like messy looking than leaves.
And I would say that, again, the cholla wood is going to give you that same benefit as well. So it's going to release tannins. It will still provide surface area for beneficial bacteria. Looks awesome. Comes in all different sizes. I think that was one of the that might have been the YouTube short I put out today. I'm pretty sure it was. So that can work really well too. So, all right, can we talk about the giveaway?
Oh, wait.
Well, let's,
Yes, Noel and Donia, we did receive the email. It just hasn't gone out since we were at Aquashella. The
Yeah.
giveaway.
it's
It'll
going
be
out
going out tomorrow.
We promise. Sorry about the delay. So, on that note, the giveaway this evening is a Fritz sponsored giveaway. And so this is cool. They have the Fresh and Saltwater Master Test Kit. And love this thing because first, it tests for wide range pH. So this is cool. So unlike a lot of the other test kits, you only have to have one pH tube. And it inevitably, for so many people, for some of the other test kits that are liquid test kits, you have low pH and high pH reagents. And if your pH is falling in the center somewhere, that can be super frustrating. So this is nice because it's just one pH test and it tests for the wide range. I think it goes all the way down to like 4 or 5 and up to above 8 or 9, something like that. And then you've got ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate, and those are the big ones, right? So if you're ever having a problem with water quality, usually that problem is going to be ammonia or nitrite. And of course, nitrate is nice just to make sure that your tank maintenance, your water changes, or your plants, whatever you're relying upon, are doing a good job taking care of your water, making sure it's healthy. The other cool thing about this kit is, I'm going to open it up and show you, I really do like this, and that's the directions. So as we get a little older, sometimes the directions can be a little bit harder to read, especially on those multi-fold out paper ones from some of the other liquid test kits. This one, a lot easier to read. And so this is awesome. And again, we're going to have one winner. You're going to get this bad boy. A lot of people ask, the difference between the liquid and the test strips, liquid test kits. These tend to be a little bit more reliable. Obviously, it takes a little bit more time to use because you got to get your water sample and drop your drops in there. But this is an awesome thing. We do use it whenever there is a potential issue with fish. I'm testing ammonia, nitrite, just to make sure we don't have any issues. Fritz is a channel sponsor. We thank them because they have been a partner with us for so many years, and they make awesome products. We use the products before we ever partnered with them. That's why we did, because it was an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we have to get all of our screens up, because what we do, especially if you're newer here with these giveaways, is we have like 5 screens. And we make sure that all of our screens, there's options when you actually look at the way the chat is filtering in for you. There's top messages, all messages, and we go on all messages. And even if you do that for yourself, it's still going to prioritize your own, your own comments or whatever. So what we do, because we don't have that prioritization, is we make sure that all of our screens are agreeing when we say, okay, so-and-so is the winner. You have done something. Okay, so what we're going to do, don't do anything just yet.
Are you on all messages?
I am on all messages. Hopefully everybody is on all messages. So what we do is you have to, don't do it yet. You have to pick a number between 50 and 60. Go. First person that picks the right number between 50 and 60, you were going to be the winner. Done. We're done.
Done
Already. Yep,
right,
you can stop the whole situation now.
Oh, yeah,
you can begin the stopping of the
typing. Wow, that was super fast.
Yeah, it was very fast. So hold on a second here. Now we have to make sure, now we do our discount double check over here, and we have to make sure that all of our screens are giving us the same answer. So let me scroll down here. I've got that.
Yes.
There, and then we have... Let me just make sure, one more screen, and that is true there as well. We're doing 2 giveaways.
Really?
All right, so same.
Okay.
It's 2 people are getting this. Okay, so the first winner and the second place. We do that sometimes. So the first person who got it right and the second person who got it right, you're both getting this. So the number, reveal please. The number is 51. I don't know why you picked that number. Because it's got nothing to do with me. So there are the first 2 winners. Second Floor Aquatics. You were winner number 1. And so do you have Second Floor's information? So we're good. You don't need to send us anything. We're sending this to you in the mail tomorrow because Joanna's doing all of her mailing. And then the second winner is JAV.
Yep.
JAV.
JAV.
You are the second winner. We're going to send you one of these. Now, all you have to do, JAV, is you need to send us an email. And send that email to primetimegiveaway.
Singular.
primetimegiveaway@yahoo.com. We need your name and your mailing address. And well, I didn't mention this, but you got to be in the continental United States. We can't mail this stuff out of the country. So name and mailing address, and then we will send this to you. And if we have that information by the time Joanna goes to the post office tomorrow, we'll get this out for you tomorrow along with second floors. And you've got a bunch of other stuff that you're sending out as well.
Oh, yeah.
So that is what we're doing. And by the way, we do have a giveaway next week as well, because one of our other channel supporters, Flip Aquatics, has got some really cool stuff that they want to give away. And so that's what we do. One of the things we do is we partner with people who want to help
send goodies.
Help our viewers, because we think that is a pretty darn cool thing to do. So that is what we're doing here. Now, hold on a second, because once this all came through, we basically, once all these numbers come through and you guys load up our chat, which is awesome, we lose all the questions. So if you had a good, and there was a bunch of them here, if you had a really sweet question before the chat, please go ahead and re-ask that. But I did see that Empire of Dirt Aquatics. Thank you. Wow, that is really, really insanely awesome. Gifted 20 new prime timers. That's cool.
Wow.
Thank you for doing that. That was very, very kind-hearted of you.
Very,
really appreciate that. So now we got 20 new prime timers because of Empire of Dirt Aquatics, otherwise known as Jeff Kane.
That's a fun name.
Cool.
Empire of Dirt. Yeah.
Yep. So now I got to fix one of my other screens, because once all these things come through.
Oh, there was a question from Ed, I think it was,
Okay.
about plastic plants. Was there a particular vendor that was selling them? And it was the one that we were at, and then across the way, was it Planet Aquarium?
Planet Aquariums is the one that does the major display that is at Aquascaping the last year or so. That's them.
The fake plant.
Yeah. The plastic plant one. Yeah.
But I thought I looked up their website and I did not see like plastic plants listed. So they might.
Well, they promote the heck out of them, and they're on there somewhere, because, and maybe they have a separate website for them, because they have all those pictures that Shelby did, and they take pictures of our scapes, our dry scapes, and they use them for the website. So I was talking to Jonathan. That's what they do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So they got to be out there somewhere. But Planet, like, the planet Earth, Planet Aquariums is that big display in the booth. Lady, thank you very much for the super chat. Have you ever talked about dropsy, humane euthanasia? Would you consider it someday? There doesn't seem to be anyone talking about those really difficult things. Yeah, so that is something that I'll probably at some point do a video on. But when I did my Master's Cert in Aquaculture and Fish Health, that was one of the things that we talked about, is how do you humanely basically euthanize fish when they are sick, when they're super old, when they're suffering. Clove oil is the recommended way to do that. So in the industry. So clove oil is basically just going to slowly put them to sleep in the most painless possible way. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the question. There's just some things like fish TB. You're not curing that. You are not curing fish TB. Dropsy can be really difficult at times too. Sometimes you just get old fish. I mean, we've got retirement tanks. I did a video about that a few years ago, where we will put older fish in a tank, not so that they suffer, fish that are just, they're looking a little gnarly, and maybe they would be prone to being bullied by other fish if they stayed in their original tanks. So we've got tanks where we put older fish, but once they get to a point where it's like, okay, this fish is barely eating, it's suffering, now we have to do something. And clove oil is the way to do that.
The way to do it.
Yeah.
Kibbit wants to know, any chance you could sell female scarlet baddest at the swap?
To the best of my knowledge, I don't know if I have any. They're small right now. I mean, they are 3/8 of an inch, maybe ½ inch. The females have far less color, and what I'm seeing is pretty much males, and that's just what happens. It's actually very rare for the scarlet baddest that you see females. I mean, yeah, It's just, unfortunately, not easy to find. All right, hold on. Now I am scrolling, and this thing is finally starting to free up on me. Keep them coming.
Tommy Russell wants to know, did Aquarium quit manufacturing the 125 gallon?
I mean, the 125s are still readily available. Whether or not Aquarium is still making them, I don't know. I'm not sure it matters, because whether it's Aquarium, Marineland, or what's the other one, Topfin, I think for the most part, they're all more or less, I mean, there might be slight differences in the dimensions or the thickness of the actual rims, but for the most part, I don't really pay attention. When it comes to those three, I think there's probably just a few factories that really kick those things out, and they just slap different labels on them. I have found that, at least, I don't remember which two, but they're pretty much exactly the same, like in terms of dimensions, glass thickness, the types of silicone they use, the color that they use. So, but in Aquarium in particular, I'm not sure.
Do you miss a super chat from Lady
Nope, that
Nugardia?
was literally the one I just answered about the euthanasia.
So that's good.
So if
Right.
you're new here, if you're coming over from KG Tropicals, there's a couple things you need to know about us. One, it is very common, as you can see, Joanna is kind of, what she's doing, she's not just ignoring us, she's flipping through, she's going through and trying to make sure that
I get a variety.
Yeah. And often as she's doing that, I'm answering a question, and at least once a live stream, as our veterans know, she's going to start asking or reading a question that I have either in the middle of answering as she's saying it, or I've already answered it, and she's now just straight up
It's tradition.
not listening to me.
Multitasking
lives, yeah.
is really highly overrated, and my brain just really doesn't do it.
I'm telling you, if you saw us in real life, you know, just like trying to have a conversation, sometimes it goes
Scary.
like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what did you say? I burped. Oh, never mind.
Like, remember earlier today, you started off saying something, but then we had to go, and then we were driving, and you're like, wait, what was I saying? And I was like, I don't know. What were you saying?
Yeah, so we had
I don't know.
that was when we were going to pick up your bike.
Yeah.
I was saying something, and it was like really
And I
engaging and
and I really
thoughtful.
wanted to ask him, but I knew we had to go, so even I was like,
Yeah, she's like, hold on, why don't
yeah.
continue this conversation in the car, because she had to like run. She was on lunch. And we get in the car, and first of all, we forgot the conversation even happened. That was how fast. And then we're like 2 miles down the street. She's like, oh yeah, what were we talking about? And then it took another 5 or 6 miles.
But I thought of it, which
You
I'm
did.
shocked, because
You did
usually
think of it, yeah.
once I lose a thought, it's gone.
Yep.
It's gone
Yep,
forever.
and somehow we figured it out.
We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
It was a struggle, to be sure.
It was. But do you remember what it was? I don't. But we were really excited.
I don't remember. Oh, man.
Really
That's not
excited.
cool to do to us on live TV. No, I don't remember what we were excited about, the thing we had to remember, but now we've already forgotten what we were so excited to talk about.
No idea.
Josh, I appreciate this question because it gets us back on track. How well do bristlenose plecos clean your glass, rocks, and driftwood? So, small bristlenose do awesome. I mean, if you've got brown diatom algae, I even showed that, I think it was at one time in a prime timer video, the tank that's by my head over here, there's a bunch of yellow labs and Pseudotropheus solosi, Imbuna cichlids in this tank over here, and it was covered with brown diatom algae, and I put in 2 probably 1.5 inch, maybe 2 inch bristlenose plecos, and within about 36 hours there wasn't a speck of brown diatom algae anywhere. The argument that a lot of people make, and this is based on, I'm sure, their observations, is as the bristlenose plecos get larger, they don't eat as much algae. My counter argument to that is something I said earlier in the stream, and that is absolutely there's a potential for that to happen, because if you have a certain setup, so let's say you have a mostly community aquarium and your bottom feeders, let's say, are mostly cory cats, and so you put some pellets down there, and your bristlenose plecos make a beeline for those pellets, and full grown, especially male bristlenose plecos, own the bottom of that tank. Okay, they are going to fight for food. So in that particular situation, unless the bristlenose pleco is getting enough food to sustain itself, but not gorge itself, then it will start to scavenge for algae and do a good job. And we rely on these fish. When you're looking at the tanks behind us, I know they're kind of blurred out because of the depth, But you don't see a ton of algae on these tanks. Does Luke do some algae control? Yes. Does he do a lot? No, because there are bristlenose in every single one of the tanks behind me. There are bristlenose in every single aquarium in the fish room that is at least of 20 gallons or greater. And Eli doesn't do any algae scraping on that other side. And if I were to take you over there, if I could take this camera off the stand and go over there, you'd see like, oh, these tanks look pretty good. Well, why? Because there's a lot of food competition in those tanks, because they're mostly quarantine tanks, a lot of fish. And the bristlenose are like, okay, I'm going to get some food, but I would prefer to have more. And so, boom, I'm going to the glass, I'm going to the rocks, I'm going to the driftwood, and that's where they're getting more food. So that is pretty much why I think the bristlenose work well for us. But again, you don't want to starve them. I'm not saying, hey, starve your bristlenose so they only eat algae, because they'll die. I mean, they actually require quite a bit of food. In fact, if you're in a situation where you're like, man, my tanks are looking pretty good, I highly recommend after the lights go out and your fish are inactive, put an algae wafer in there. And if you wake up in the morning and that algae wafer is gone, that means your scavenging fish that are up at night, like your bristlenose plecos, some of your loaches, they ate it. They were still hungry. Great way to do that, especially if you've got fish that are super aggressive eaters, like Mbuna cichlids, like we have over here, or South and Central American cichlids, or crazy rainbow fish that will just not allow other fish to get food, especially if those fish will eat at night. Not all do, but the bristlenose do. All right, let me see. I'm like way behind in this thing now, I believe. Hold on a second here. Mr. Fish, what's going on? You are.
That's a great name, Mr.
Yep,
Fish.
Yep. Freshwater Focus says, in a 10-gallon fast flow tank, can I have 3 Borneo suckers, 8 white clouds, and 2 nereids? Don't see why not. It's pretty good stocking for a 10-gallon. I say go with it. All right, let me see. Man, I'm still scrolling down.
Yeah,
What,
I know.
You got something?
Wait, yeah. Wait, who was said this here? Hold on.
Come on.
Oh, I'm working on it here.
Into the Future says, let's get those likes going. I don't check that button, but I mean, I don't pay attention to it, but I mean, I think we should listen. You could break that thumb right off that like button.
All right, so second floor says, I want to pass my win off to the third place, number 51, who looks like Ed Pereira to me. Ed was the third.
Okay, so then we can do that.
Okay.
So Ed who?
Pereira.
Ed,
if I'm pronouncing that correctly, let me see here.
Then, first of all, thank you, second floor, for doing that. That's pretty awesome. And Ed, if you are still here, and you can get us your address by tomorrow, I'm assuming that's your name, and your mailing address, we will mail that out for you too. Second floor, that's really awesome of you.
And send it to?
Oh, primetime giveaway.
Singular.
Primetime giveaway at yahoo.com. That's really cool. Nice.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is why. So I'm in the questions actually before the numbers started coming through, and now I'm getting to the point where we're doing better. So Lizette, what happened to my question? Did it just jump? There we go. Lizette says, how do you quarantine otos if they do best in a seasoned aquarium? That's a great question. You still have to do it, right? Because you don't want the otos to potentially bring in disease. There's a couple ways to do that. One, if you know you're getting otos and you've got time, you could try to have that quarantine tank up and running for at least 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe get a little bit algae growing in there, because seasoned aquarium just means you've got stable water parameters, and maybe there's some other life growing in there besides the fish themselves. If you don't have the time, you feed them, right? You give them we use kelp wafers. You try to make sure that they've got food and that their water is ammonia nitrite free and the nitrates are limited. I suppose you could throw some live plants in your quarantine tank. I don't like to do that, because if I have to start treating it with meds, sometimes the live plants suffer. Oh, Adrian says, please tell me we'll see more dwarf golden eye cichlids at the GCCA, as long as they make it that far. I mean, because we've got green water and quad before them, but I think so. That's the Nanacara anomala. It basically looks like, imagine electric blue acara, only way smaller, a couple inches, and they have a yellow undertone with their blue. Absolutely amazing fish.
Real pretty. So
Really
how big
cool.
would you say they get?
Oh, a couple inches, 2.5 max. Yeah. The ones that we have, by the way, are they're basically full grown in that tank over there. So
Sweet.
really, really, really pretty fish. Absolutely love them. No, Duff, no. My 13-year-old tinfoil barb died last week. That stinks, man. I'm sorry that happened. We had tinfoil barbs that died on us, and they were probably 10 years old. They were big, and absolutely love those fish. They were just always full of energy. Such a cool fish.
Oh, Michelle wants to know, we have some crypts that have gone through a big growth spurt. How do we trim them back without killing them or totally uprooting them? We also have a Phineas overgrown as well. Well, the crypts...
You can't really trim those back.
Well, you kind of can, unless they are the... oh my gosh, it's totally blinked out. The little guys, the little crypts.
Parva?
Yes. Unless they're crypt parva. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Nailed
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
You can actually like kind of behead them, cut them off. I don't know if you really want to do that.
Kill him.
No, because
Yeah,
when you transplant them and you don't want them melting, which generally speaking, if you move them, if you anger them in the least, which is very easy to do, they'll melt and then they regenerate. So leave a little bit of just a little bit of the leaf and just kind of, cut them.
Jessica, great question. If I adopt a glow shark from my job, make sure it has ground territory for its own. I feel like it can cohabitate. Yeah, for sure. The glow sharks are going to have every bit of the personality as the rainbow sharks normally do. And the larger they get, the more aggressive they get. Usually they become less tolerant as time goes on. So just got to be a little bit careful. There's Ed. This is Ed. Is Ed our new winner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ed. So if you heard that, hopefully you did. Send us your address, and we will get your stuff mailed out. Thanks to Second Floor.
It's not an official live stream until I repeat a question.
That is true.
That was just answered.
Usually it happens much, much earlier in the stream, too. Yeah. That and just
Slacking.
the look. Sometimes you give me the look.
What look? What look?
Like, what are you talking about? The look like, is he actually saying words?
Or the look like, wrap it up. It's a really long answer. I want to get to the next one.
I also get that look sometimes, too. Yep.
Or when you're eating something, you'll get the look.
She's got that
I
issue
have it.
Where, I'm not kidding you. You've made my life, like eating, so stressful sometimes.
Good.
Because she has a thing where if you are eating and like, you hear somebody eating.
I forget what it's called.
She will just
it's a thing.
Flip out.
It's
and
literally
I try,
a thing.
And boy, I'll tell you, I'm glad I don't have
triggers,
that thing.
And you read, because somebody had finally said at work, oh, you have something. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm just extremely weird. And they're like, no, it's a thing. And like the sound of like eating and crunching, it like triggers a rage response.
She just storms off, and I'm like,
I do.
You're just like enjoying my lunch. The one part that I love the most, this is the one.
Poor thing.
Yeah, sharing our dirty laundry on the live stream. You're going to get this too sometimes for you new people.
But it's fun. We're
I'll
weird.
be eating my own lunch by myself, enjoying every day. This is what I love. I have a chicken breast, an Ezekiel bread, with a big giant, like 2 or 3 servings of mixed vegetables, and a serving of walnuts, pecans, or almonds. And I have my unsweetened iced tea. And I sit there.
You sound like a real nerd.
And I watch my afternoon or my midday live stream of Car Edge, because I love those guys. She'll come down, and I'm in the middle of just eating. And she'll just be like, look at me and just go walking right back off again. I'm like, I was down here by myself. I wasn't. It's not like I'm going.
Yeah, but it echoes. And if I can hear it, by the time I get to the top of the stairs, that door will get shut. You don't try. I don't think you try.
Well, not when I'm by myself, I don't. That's the thing. I was by myself.
Not even when I'm sitting there. You don't try.
No, I do. You just don't think I do.
How somebody can chew oatmeal, I will have no, I don't know.
You have to chew it a little bit.
No, you really don't.
All right, come on, help me out here. Don't. People, if you eat...
You shouldn't
first
hear
of all,
chewing.
I don't eat instant oatmeal. I eat the steel-cut oatmeal.
So do I. I don't chew it. There's no chewing sound involved.
So you take a scoop of oatmeal and you slurp it down. Like you can...
No, but there's no chewing sound that goes along with oatmeal.
I don't know about that, but
saying.
you have to chew
Dee Dee
it.
would back me up on it.
Okay.
It's called, y'all know. You get
That's
it.
what
I
it's
got
called?
some
Y'all
peeps.
know?
I got some peeps in here that
Y'all
understand
know-ophobia?
misophonia.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like it should be on the Peanuts.
And
That one. Maybe you've got arachnophobia. Hold on, Lucky. I'm buying a 60 breeder today. Or I bought a 60 breeder
Sweet.
tank for $70. That's a good deal. At
Bravissimo.
Petco. Is it a good idea to put African cichlids? If you do that, yeah, you can do it. A lot of your Lake Tanganyikans, with the exception like the really big ones like the Frontosas and stuff like that, that could be an option. They are African cichlids. You could also do Mbuna cichlids. The only thing I wouldn't do, don't put peacocks in that tank because you will most likely eventually have a problem. So stay away from the peacocks, but most of your Lake Tanganyikans, especially your rock dwellers, go watch the intro to Lake Tanganyikan fish I did. I promise you, you're going to find some good options there. And then you can watch the how to set up an Mbuna tank. That's also good. The only one definitely stay away from is peacocks in a 60 breeder. You could breed them like, oh, I've got 1 male and 5 females. But if you want to just have something to look at, might not be a great idea for that.
Red Scorpion says, you guys are on late. No, we're not. We're at the
Same
usual
normal
time.
times.
Just different day.
Just a different day.
8 to 9:30.
Central Standard Time.
Central.
Yep. But I suppose that in a way we're on late.
Do you want to know what was real?
Hold that thought. Don't forget it though, because that could happen.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down.
You said you started with. Do you want to? No,
No,
you
I
should
know.
probably just tell me. Go ahead and tell me, because you're gonna.
You
forget.
sure?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I don't know if it's age, but I'm getting thoroughly confused now with like different times. Like when somebody says, like if I watch other live streams or something, they say, "Oh, it's what we're gonna be at this time." I get so confused.
Trying to reconvert.
Trying to. All right, if that's Central, if that's Eastern, and then what got really confusing is we were in Florida that changed the time, but then the time changed.
Yeah. So we went.
I
an
still
hour
haven't
ahead,
recuperated.
And then the second day we were there, the times went back, and then we had to fly back to Central Standard Time. That was a mess.
I didn't even
agree.
try and
Yeah.
figure out what time we were getting back, because I was like, no.
Okay, Adrian says, any recommendations for fish to go with electric blue cars in a planted, mainly driftwood attached 75 gallon? Lots of recommendations. That's going to be an awesome tank.
Sounds like it's going to be beautiful.
So do you have anything off the top of your head?
With electric blue Acara?
Yeah.
Well, my first guess was Corey's.
Sure. You could absolutely do a nice group of Cory cats, maybe 8 to 10. I like rainbow fish. The larger ones, not the pseudomogul, but like just your Bosemani, your reds.
That'd be pretty.
Alani. There's so many. We've got the yellows right now that are really Herbert Axelrodi. Really nice option. I have kept electric blue Acaras with angels. I have kept them with Severums. Let's see here. A lot of your barbs. So this is one where I've been talking about the clown barb, the Odessa barb, the snakeskin barb. Melon barbs, all really good options. Those would be pretty cool.
Boy, snakeskin barbs would be very interesting because you have that blue,
Yeah.
metallic blue,
Yeah.
and then the orange and black.
And if you wanted to go a little bit more, even slightly more assertive barbs, like your tiger barbs, whether they're emerald green, standards, ruby barbs would be fine, because electric blue cars aren't going to take any smack. And if you wanted to do some medium-ish size tetras, like we've got the Buenos Aires in, that was actually not something that I necessarily ordered. They just came in by accident. So now I've got all these Buenos Aires, but that would be a really good. No, you said planted. Never mind. Not the Buenos Aires. They'll eat plants.
Scratch that.
Let's see here. What else? For larger, if you had full size brilliant green rasboras, those would probably work. Yeah, I mean, a lot of options there. It's a great fish, not overly aggressive. So very nice. All right, why did my chat jump all the way back up when I didn't? I don't think I touched anything. That's weird. JAV says have on black Cory, going to pick up 3 tomorrow. That's cool. Black Corys, we've actually got a group upstairs right now. I don't think of them as I don't do anything special for them as any other Cory. Just give them their somewhere in the 70s water. That's, I don't know, somewhere between a pH of 6.5, but not more than 8, and you're probably in good shape.
I got 2 back to back.
Okay.
This one's really hilarious. Y'all are my people. Okay. Jose says, I hated when people started saying nom nom instead of yum yum because it sounds more like chewing. It does. I hate when people say nom nom. I don't
Okay.
I just said it. I'm so sorry.
Yep.
Flame Fox says, my buddy used to circle his food first like a tiny shark.
Wow. He's like, I'm coming for you. I'm going to get
Dun,
you.
dun. Little
Yep.
tiny, although it'd be higher pitched. Dun, 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 dun,
Yep.
dun, 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 dun.
Evan, I've always wondered if it's safe for a human to eat an algae wafer. What could go wrong? So, funny story. This is when I got one of these looks one time. The boys were young. They were probably
Oh, yeah.
maybe 7 and 4. And we were down here on this side where there were maybe a dozen aquariums on this side, maybe 8. I don't remember. And they were like, Dad, what does fish food taste like? It was like the old Tetramin stuff. And as a kid, I would just like pop it in my mouth just for fun. I'm like, well,
Sure.
it's actually not that bad. They each have a pinch. Right as they're putting it in their mouth, who starts walking down the basement stairs? And I hear, what are you letting them do? And I was like, they wanted to try it. And they're thinking it's funny. They got like fish food kind of hanging out of their mouth and it's stuck on their face. A whole algae wafer? I don't think I could do that. I'm not going to lie. And first of all, to be clear, do not eat fish food. It is not safe for human consumption. And it's not made for human consumption. But that didn't stop me from giving it to my kids.
I'm sure
little pinch.
and that was enough for them for their entire
Yeah, I
lifetime.
don't know if they
They're
ever ate
probably
any more after that.
Yeah.
But it was,
Boys will be boys. Yes, second floor. Boys will be boys.
they wanted, but they learned. They
Who's-
weren't curious anymore.
Who's the lead culprit?
Well, I had to show them that, you could eat it. So I put some in my mouth.
That's
Yeah, it was great.
special.
Except for when we got busted. Then it wasn't so great anymore.
Kivit says, pygmy cories are one of my dream fish. They are so cute, and they're very different than your regular cory. Why? Because they're what I would call rock dwellers. They they don't make a little pile, like the zoomy pile, like normal, like the rest of the cories do.
Yeah.
They more like kind of perch on rocks.
The
They're just
pygmies? Yeah,
so cute.
for sure.
They're so cute.
Adrian said, follow-up question, can the golden-eye dwarf cichlids go with discus and cardinals? I don't see why not. They're big enough. The discus aren't going to bother them. The dwarf cichlids aren't going to bother the discus. They're way too small to be eating cardinal tetras, even small cardinal tetras. So, in fact, they're in right now in a quarantine tank. I had some leftover. What the heck is in there? Like neon tetras and maybe some. Don't do this, but there's some chili raspberries in that tank, and they left them all alone.
In what tank?
In that top quarantine tank back there. I forgot because I was like, when I got the fish.
You sure they're in there?
I'm positive. I just saw them there today.
No, you didn't.
Yes, because you took the dwarfs from the middle tank. You took them from the top as well?
I thought I did.
I don't think you did because there's green neons in there and there are chilies in that tank and the Nanacara, and there's a bunch of them in there so far. And they wouldn't long term. They would eat those fish, I think, but they're not going to be in there long enough to have any problems. But yeah, the cardinals should be fine. Oh, good question. So whatever happened to the sapphire cichlids? Love seeing the update on your fish room when those were in the updates.
Yeah, those are pretty.
Love those fish. And it was one of those things. So every once in a while, I do something. And that tank has been my nemesis for doing dumb stuff. So
I got one of
that was
those.
the middle top 40 breeder. Before the star sapphires, I had the most beautiful jewel cichlids I have ever seen in my life. I did a species profile on those fish, and they weren't even they never even achieved their full color when I did that species profile. It took another 6 or 8 months after that. They were like purpley red, and the spangling, those blue, oh my gosh, those fish were insane. And I decided that I was going to take that group to a swap and get rid of them so I could put the star sapphires in. So I took one amazing fish, and then I replaced it with the star sapphires. The star sapphires grew to be insanely awesome, and the males looked really great. And then what did I do? I decided I wanted that tank for, I don't remember what it was. I think it was like some type of a cyprichromis. And so I was like, okay, I got to move them out. And that group was breeding. And so I moved that breeding group out at a swap. I think I might have kept one male that eventually got old and died in the Abuna tank, but the rest of them moved out. And that's the other one I regret. So if you were to ask me, two fish that I regret getting rid of. Those insane jewel cichlids that I still haven't seen any jewel cichlid come even close to those colors, and those star sapphires. Both of them were in the same top middle 40 breeder, and that's just my bad luck tank where I make stupid decisions. It's actually not a bad luck tank. It's a stupid decision tank.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
SD tank.
Yep. Yes, it is.
You got a super chat?
I do. Oh, let me scroll on because I don't know what's going on with this chat. I still feel like I'm answering questions that happened like 15 minutes ago. JR,
Right.
thank you very much. Appreciate it. Your videos helped me set up my first Aquascape tank and pick
Woohoo!
up the Shark Nano filters. It's now home. It's now home to guppies, blue shrimp, cherry shrimp, pygmy cories, a sparkling gourami, and celestial pearl daniels. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. You
That's
have
pretty.
most definitely a very cool mix of fish going on there. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that's awesome to look at. So thank you very much. Glad you're here. And that is cool for sure. And I see, let me see here. Okay, yeah, that's from before. Oh, Green Josh, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Didn't see a question. Maybe you can look and see if, oh, there it is.
Did you see it?
Oh, I don't. You remind me of Amy Farrah Fowler. I don't. Do you know who that is?
Him or me?
Can't be me. It's a girl.
Amy. Well, I'm gonna have to look it up now.
I think so. I used to get, when you were on a lot of the primetime videos, it was the chick from Saturday Night Live. It was like your personality or something. Don't look at me that way. I didn't say it. I used to get comments about it.
Yeah, I used to have a guy at work who would say, "Were you ever in theater? You look like you were probably in theater." Because I was just weird.
You got a weird sort of thing going on.
And I took that as a compliment.
Well, I think you should.
Amy Farrah Fowler. From what's that show? Fictional character in The Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang, yeah.
Maybe
Well, that's new. So
I'm going to add that one to the list.
I get
She's
a
super
lot of
smart.
comments. Bill Burr, which I don't see, but apparently I don't know. There's sometimes in the video where I'll have the comedian guy. People will say it's Bill. I didn't know Bill Burr kept fish. I have heard that probably.
Now I got to look him up.
Yeah. So, Mike, thank you so much for being a prime timer the last 17 months. Have you ever played with brackish water? I picked up a figure 8 puffer at my local auction, and I'm dipping my toe in there. Yeah. So I had at one point I think it was a 75. It was a 75. This was many, many, many years ago. I had a 75 gallon that had monos, scats, and some type of goby. And I don't remember what it was, but it was a great tank. The only problem with, for me now is I like to have my tanks mostly planted, and there's not a lot of fish out there that will allow you to keep plants in a brackish water setup. So not a lot of plants, but yeah, there's some really cool fish. I really like the monos. I like the scats. They get kind of big. The best setup I ever saw with those was actually a cylindrical tank with the monos in there, and they were just doing this the whole time, and they looked really, really pretty. So, yep, I have done it before. Enjoyed it quite a bit. All right. Oh, I think I finally made it to the bottom of the chat, and NBA Edit says, do you think rusty cichlids will be fine in a 55 with more abrasive Mbuna? I don't know if they would necessarily be fine in any size tank. If you've got some really rough, like some really bruisers, for instance, the Aratus, they're just going to beat the snot out of them. Possibly the Kenii would do some damage to them as well. So, in fact, that whole Aratus genus is probably a bad idea. The Kenii is probably a bad idea. The bumblebee cichlids would be not such a good idea. When I keep rusties, I generally like to keep them with yellow labs, a lot of the Pseudotrophia sloci, ACI. I like that mix because you get a lot of different colors, and the temperaments for the most part are the same. Sometimes you can mix them, especially if you got female red zebras. That can work out pretty well. Sometimes the males might even get a little bit too aggressive for them. So you got to be a little bit careful with them because they're not like other Mbuna. They're not as mean. Okay, hold on. What? Leslie says Joanna has a much better nose. I don't know. Wait, what movie is that from? You can punch me right in the nose. A serious punch for a serious nose. Nobody's going to get that quote.
No.
Nobody is going to get that.
I have no idea.
It is
I
very
don't know how you
obscure.
remember all these random.
That's one of my many endearing features, is remembering things that have absolutely no value in
Constant
anybody's
quizzing,
life.
too.
Yeah. So, you don't remember?
No.
And if I lie, you can punch me in the nose. A serious punch for a very serious nose.
No, because I remember it the first time, so why would I remember it?
Well,
if you
because
said it
maybe if I
again?
said it better.
No.
Nothing? All right. Oh
Roxanne.
my gosh. Are you serious? Girl 88, how do you know that?
Outbreak.
That is not
hate that
even
movie.
a quote that, even for that movie, it wouldn't be a quote that I would expect anybody to remember. That is like level 10 impressive right there. Cody did it too. That's craziness right there. I thought for sure I was going to stump everybody on that one, but apparently, we've got some brainiacs up in here with movie quotes.
All right, from Mandarin Gobi, what tank size for guppies and bettas together?
A 20 gallon should be fine. I've seen it done. We've done it many times. Kasha had them together all the time. Creative pet keeping, never any issues. So 20 gallons should work.
So that would be for a betta and guppies?
Yes, a betta and guppies. Yeah. Oink, Outbreak, Dustin Hoffman. Yep, for sure. I love it.
Ugh.
It's a great movie.
It's depressing.
It's not depressing.
It is depressing.
I mean, it is kind of depressing.
And
it's
stressful.
about an outbreak of disease, but
Yeah.
other than that, it's
It's
very
not my
entertaining.
go-to.
But that cast was like Dustin Hoffman, Morgan Freeman, Donald Sutherland.
What's her name?
Renee Russo.
Yeah.
Cuba Gooding Jr. I mean,
He was all-star.
It was an all-star cast. It really was. Like, you go back and like, holy cow, they really loaded it up. Yossi says, what do you think about keeping a nanocar in a 20-gallon long planted aquarium with 5 CPDs? Yeah, probably. I think that could work. As long as the CPDs are full grown. If they're little babies, you might be taking a little bit of a chance. But if you got full grown CPDs, probably. It's about as small as I would go, though, for sure. All right. What do we say? We probably got another. I almost had another quote or two, another question or two. Cody says, I quote movies all the time and quiz my wife. That's what you have to do. You have to make sure they're on their movie quote game. You know, you just have to. Otherwise, what fun is life? That's what I always say. You know what was it that we were watching? Oh, when we were in Daytona Beach, you know what I caught, which was crazy? It was just on regular TV, whatever TV they had there. It was the first episode of Three's Company. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
I never saw the first episode because I was a little kid, you know. Probably wasn't supposed to be watching that.
No, I've never watched. I don't think I've seen a whole episode.
Really? It's actually pretty funny. But as a kid, most of the stuff goes over your head. You just, it's entertaining. They're always doing dumb stuff. Yep. Good stuff. All right, everybody. I think it is about time to call it a night because, it's getting late there. And if you did the whole Thursday night thing, we're very happy about that. If you started with KG Tropicals at, what would that have been, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time?
Don't
So
ask
next
me,
Thursday,
I get confused.
Next Thursday, we're going to be back, same time, same place, Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. But if you didn't already, hey, check out the live stream right before us. KG Tropicals, they're going from 6 to 8. We're from 8 to 9:30.
And then if Chattanooga Ed's
Yeah,
still
Oink,
going.
pipe in. If Craft Ed is still talking about cool stuff, that's another great one. That's will take you out until bedtime. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all our moderators for hanging out with us. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you for all the super chats and stickers and new members and everything that came on. We will be back, same time, same place. And as I always say, bring your questions. Write them down as you pop. If they pop into your head, we'll try to answer as many as we can next week. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So long.